But just across the river in Minnesota, quite the opposite is happening. News 8's Kyle Dimke joins us now with a comparison.
Well, Mike and Lisa, when it came to designing a budget plan, Minnesota and Wisconsin were in very different situations. Minnesota had a $1 billion surplus, while Wisconsin was around $2 billion in the hole. Wisconsin isn't raising education funding, but Minnesota is. It's putting an additional $418 million in its public school system over the next 2 years. Rushford-Peterson Superintendent Chuck Ayler is glad to see more money being spent on education and the future of Minnesota.
It is very reassuring and comforting to know that the governor is there supporting us and actually being proactive in his proposals.
But for his district, it's just a drop in the bucket because it will only be seeing about a 1% increase.
That's somewhere in the neighborhood between $30,000 to $40,000 per year. So overall, it's good to have an increase, but in the big picture of things, that's not going to have as dramatic impact as we had hoped for.
On the other side of the Mississippi, however, Sparta Schools Superintendent John Hendricks isn't getting any additional funding from the state.
The problem is it will prevent us from expanding and doing more for our students like our families expect.
Fortunately, his district has the support of local families. The district's previous 3 referendums have passed, keeping its schools afloat.
If the state was providing an adequate amount, we wouldn't need to go to our residents to ask for that additional money.
And Hendricks says although the state funding is staying level, he doesn't expect to receive the same amount of money.
The enrollment in public schools in Wisconsin continues to increase, and so that will also reduce the amount of funding that's available for each individual student. So there will definitely be less money available. What that will mean for us in the future is a little bit hard to know at this point.
And the Sparta superintendent says his district faces the same challenges all schools face: increasing class sizes, teachers spending too much of their own money on the classroom, and administrators spread too thin across multiple buildings. He says if funding continues to decrease, he worries the situation for public schools will get worse.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Both budget proposals will now be debated by the legislature over the next several months.
And they need to be signed by July 1st when the next budget cycle begins.